Welcome to Miss Scarlett. Subscribe and don't miss out on Patreon. Have fun! As the warm sand touched his feet, an unusual sensation, Thaddeus guided his well-worn Honda Civic into a secluded spot at the beach's parking lot perimeter. Life unfolded through his windshield, a tableau of typical beachgoers enjoying the summer sun. Families unpacking coolers, couples laying down blankets, and teens casually tossing frisbees. An everyday scene for them, but not for him. His fingers quivered on the steering wheel, betraying his inner turmoil.
"Calm down,"
he whispered, glancing at the tote bag on the vacant passenger seat, filled with the attire he'd meticulously chosen. At 32, Thaddeus had lived with his suppressed desire to embrace femininity. The untouched navy blue skirt and white tank top in his closet were a testament to this, bought on impulse during a fleeting moment of bravery. But today marked a new chapter. His neatly trimmed beard was gone, shaved off that morning in preparation, and his auburn hair had grown just past his ears after months of letting it grow out. Thaddeus changed in the beach restroom, his heart hammering against his ribs. The skirt fell just below his knees, catching the air as he moved. The white tank top was simple but fitted nicely against his lean frame. He'd chosen minimalist canvas shoes to complete the look, practical for sand, yet complementing the outfit. His reflection in the smudged mirror showed a person he barely recognized, yet somehow had always known existed. He ran his fingers through his auburn hair, tucking it behind his ears, and took a deep breath. Stepping out into the sunlight felt like stepping onto a stage, but as Thaddeus made his way across the hot sand, the anticipated stares and whispers never materialized. A volleyball game continued uninterrupted to his right. A mother helped her toddler build a sandcastle to his left. Teenagers with portable speakers danced without giving him a second glance. The realization slowly dawned on him. Nobody cared. In the grand theater of the beach, his costume change was merely a footnote, if noticed at all. Thaddeus, no, not today, let his toes touch the edge of the water. The cool waves lapped at his ankles, and the skirt danced around his calves in the ocean breeze. For the first time in his life, he felt something approaching freedom. He walked the entire length of the shoreline, gaining confidence with each step. The fabric against his skin, the gentle sway of the skirt. It felt natural, like something he should have been doing all along. By sunset, as the beach began to empty, he wasn't ready to leave, wasn't ready to step back into the constraints of his everyday life. That evening, as Thaddeus drove home with salty hair and sunburned shoulders, something had fundamentally shifted. The name Marley floated into his consciousness, a name he'd always liked, always felt connected to. It felt right.
"Marley,"
he whispered, testing how it sounded in the quiet of his car. Over the following weeks, Thaddeus spent increasing amounts of time as Marley. At first, it was just at the beach, a destination that had become sacred ground. The navy blue skirt became joined by a coral sundress, a patterned wrap skirt, loose flowing palazzo pants in various colors. Each item carefully selected, each outing extending a little longer. 2 months after that first day, Marley sat at her vanity desk, applying a light coat of mascara. Her auburn hair had grown faster than expected, now grazing her shoulders in soft waves. She'd learned to style it in a way that framed her face, accentuating features she had once tried to downplay. The beach had been just the beginning. Today, she was meeting friends, real friends, new friends, for lunch at a cafe overlooking the ocean. These were people who had only ever known her as Marley, who complimented her sundresses and shared their favorite boutiques. Marley slipped into a pale yellow sundress, the color complementing her auburn hair and the light dusting of freckles across her shoulders from many days in the sun. A delicate silver necklace and comfortable sandals completed the outfit. Her apartment had transformed alongside her. Softer lighting, plants in colorful pots, fabrics and textures that brought her joy. The masculine furniture and stark walls of Thaddeus's bachelor pad had given way to Marley's more expressed aesthetic. The cafe was busy when she arrived, but she spotted her friends on the patio, their laughter carrying on the breeze. Claire waved enthusiastically, her curly hair bouncing with the movement. "Marley, over here! We saved you a seat with the best view!" She navigated through the tables, exchanging smiles with the waitstaff who recognized her as a regular. When she sat down, no one blinked an eye, no one questioned her presence. She was simply Marley, meeting friends for lunch on a beautiful day. "That dress is gorgeous," Danielle said, reaching out to touch the fabric. "Is it new?" "I found it at that little boutique by the pier," Marley replied, settling into her seat. "The one you recommended last week." "I knew it would look amazing with your coloring. The yellow against your auburn hair. Perfect." The conversation flowed easily, punctuated by laughter and shared experiences. Marley contributed to discussions about work challenges, weekend plans, movie recommendations, all the normal things friends talked about. Not once did the conversation veer toward her transformation, not because it was taboo, but because it wasn't particularly relevant to who she was now. After lunch, they walked along the boardwalk, window shopping, and people-watching. Marley caught her reflection in a storefront, her yellow dress bright against the display, her auburn hair lifting slightly in the breeze, her posture relaxed and confident. The image matched how she felt inside, a congruence she had never experienced before. "Hey, we should all go to that new beach club next weekend," Claire suggested, linking her arm through Marley's. "I heard they have the best sunset cocktails." "I'd love that," Marley replied, and meant it. The beach had become more than just a testing ground. It was where she had found herself, where she continued to find peace. That evening, as she hung up her yellow dress and changed into a comfortable nightgown, Marley realized that Thaddeus existed now only in paperwork and distant memories. The transition had been subtle, yet absolute. There would be no going back, no switching between personas. She was Marley now, in her heart, in her home, in her interactions with the world. The beach became her sanctuary, a place she visited nearly every weekend, regardless of weather. Even in winter, wrapped in a cozy sweater and long skirt, she would walk the shoreline, remembering that first step that had changed everything. One particularly beautiful spring day, Marley wore a floral maxi dress in shades of blue and green that mirrored the ocean. Her auburn hair, now past her shoulders, was styled in loose waves. She had packed a picnic and a good book, planning a solitary day of relaxation. As she spread her blanket on a relatively quiet stretch of sand, she noticed a woman struggling with a beach umbrella a few yards away. Without hesitation, Marley set down her things and walked over. "Need a hand with that?" she offered. The woman looked up, brushing dark hair from her face. "Is it that obvious I'm hopeless with this thing?" She laughed, a warm sound that made Marley smile. "I'd appreciate the help. I'm Olivia, by the way." "Marley," she replied, taking the unwieldy umbrella. "These can be tricky if you don't know the technique." Together, they secured the umbrella in the sand, and Olivia insisted Marley join her as thanks. What started as casual beach conversation evolved into hours of talking about everything from favorite books to career aspirations. "I come here almost every weekend," Marley explained when Olivia asked if she was local. "There's something about the beach that feels like home to me." "I can see why," Olivia said, looking out at the waves. "It's beautiful, and everyone seems so free here. Like there's an unspoken agreement to just let people be." Marley nodded, feeling a surge of emotion at how perfectly Olivia had articulated something she had felt but never quite put into words. Exactly. The beach doesn't judge. When the sun began to set, painting the sky in dramatic oranges and pinks, neither was ready for the day to end. They exchanged numbers with promises to meet again. As Marley drove home, she realized she hadn't once thought about her transition during their entire conversation. She had simply been present, connecting with another person as her authentic self. The milestone struck her as significant. Being Marley had become so natural that it required no conscious effort. Over the coming months, Marley and Olivia's friendship deepened. They explored coastal towns together, attended art exhibitions, cooked elaborate dinners at each other's apartments. Olivia introduced Marley to her circle of friends, who welcomed her warmly. "You know what I love about you, Marley?" Olivia said one evening as they walked along the moonlit shore, the beach nearly deserted save for a few distant figures. "You're so completely yourself. There's no pretense, no trying to be someone you're not." The irony wasn't lost on Marley, who laughed softly. "That means more than you know." As autumn approached, bringing cooler temperatures and dramatic skies, Marley found herself reflecting on her journey while preparing for a beach bonfire Olivia had organized. She chose a burgundy sweater dress that complemented her auburn hair, paired with comfortable leggings and ankle boots. The fire was already crackling when she arrived, casting golden light on the small gathering of friends. Olivia waved her over, making space on the driftwood log she was using as a seat. "Just in time! We were about to start the ghost stories," Olivia said, her eyes reflecting the dancing flames. The night unfolded beautifully, stories shared, marshmallows toasted, laughter carried away by the persistent ocean breeze. As the fire died down and friends began to depart, Olivia asked Marley to stay a little longer. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the embers glow beneath the vast canopy of stars. Marley felt a profound sense of belonging to this place, to this moment, to herself. "I have something to tell you," Olivia said finally, her voice soft against the backdrop of crashing waves. "I've been offered a job in Seattle. It's an amazing opportunity, but—" Marley's heart sank, but she plastered on a supportive smile. "That's wonderful, Olivia. When would you leave?" "Next month. But here's the thing." Olivia turned to face her, taking Marley's hands in her own. "I can't imagine not having you in my life. We haven't known each other that long, but you've become so important to me." Marley swallowed hard, uncertain where the conversation was heading. "You're important to me, too. Would you consider coming with me? Not right away, maybe, but eventually? Seattle has beautiful beaches, too." Olivia's voice held a mixture of hope and vulnerability. The question hung between them, heavy with implications. Marley had built her new life here, found herself on these shores. The thought of leaving was terrifying, yet the thought of losing Olivia was somehow worse. "I'd need time," Marley said carefully. "This place, it's special to me. It's where I became who I am." Olivia nodded, squeezing her hands. "I understand. And whoever you are, wherever you are, That's who I want in my life." The words washed over Marley like a warm wave. For a moment, she considered telling Olivia everything about Thaddeus, about that first day in the navy blue skirt, about the journey that had led her here. But she realized it wasn't necessary. That history was part of her, but it didn't define who she was now. "Let's stay in touch while you get settled," Marley suggested. "Visit each other. See how it feels. I've never been to Seattle." Olivia's smile could have rivaled the stars. "I'd like that. And Marley, thank you for being exactly who you are." The month before Olivia's departure flew by in a whirlwind of helping her pack, farewell gatherings, and long walks on the beach, committing every detail to memory. On Olivia's last night, they returned to the same spot where they had first met, watching the sun sink below the horizon. "This isn't goodbye," Olivia assured her, though her eyes glistened with unshed tears. "It's just a pause until our next chapter." Marley nodded, unable to speak past the lump in her throat. She had come to the beach that day so many months ago, searching for acceptance, never imagining she would find friendship, community, and now the potential for something more. After Olivia left, Marley continued her beach rituals, finding comfort in the familiar rhythm of waves against sand. She wrote long emails to Olivia, describing the changing seasons at the shore, and received equally detailed accounts of Seattle's waterfront and urban energy. 3 months after Olivia's move, Marley booked a flight to Seattle for a week-long visit. She packed carefully, a mix of practical layers for the Pacific Northwest climate and a few special outfits for evenings out. Her auburn hair, now long enough to pull back when needed, was styled simply for travel. The reunion at the airport was everything she had hoped for. Olivia's enthusiastic wave, the tight embrace that seemed to erase the distance that had separated them. "You look amazing," Olivia said, stepping back to take in Marley's travel outfit. Dark jeans, a forest green sweater, and comfortable ankle boots. "So do you," Marley replied, noting how the Seattle air had given Olivia's complexion a fresh glow. The week was filled with explorations, Pike Place Market, ferry rides to nearby islands, cozy cafes on rainy afternoons. Olivia had been right. Seattle's beaches were beautiful in their own way, more rugged and dramatic than the golden shores Marley had grown accustomed to. On their last evening together, they sat on a driftwood log at Alki Beach, watching the city skyline twinkle across the water. The April air was cool, and Marley wrapped her scarf tighter around her neck. "What are you thinking?" Olivia asked, her shoulder pressed comfortably against Marley's. "That I could get used to this," Marley admitted. "Seattle, the rain, these different kinds of beaches." She paused, gathering courage. "You..." Olivia's smile was soft in the fading light. "I was hoping you'd say that." When Marley returned home, her apartment felt different, like a stopping point rather than a destination. She began researching job opportunities in Seattle, sorting through which possessions she would take and which she would leave behind. One possession she couldn't part with was the navy blue skirt, now carefully preserved in tissue paper. It represented not just the beginning of Marley, but her first step toward authentic living. 2 months later, Marley stood in her empty apartment, the last of her boxes packed and labeled for the moving company. She wore a comfortable travel outfit, leggings and a long tunic in a deep plum color that complemented her auburn hair. Her final stop before heading to the airport was, of course, the beach. The early morning light cast long shadows across the sand as she walked barefoot along the shoreline one last time. The water was cool against her skin, familiar and dear. "Thank you," she whispered to the waves, the sand, the entire expanse that had witnessed her transformation. This place would always be part of her story, always hold a special place in her heart. As Marley boarded her flight to Seattle later that day, she wasn't leaving herself behind. She was bringing her whole, authentic self into a new chapter. Her auburn hair caught the sunlight streaming through the airplane window as she settled into her seat, a small smile playing on her lips. The flight attendant passed by, offering a beverage.
What can I get for you, miss?
Water, please, Marley replied, the simple interaction reinforcing what she already knew. She was seen as she saw herself. Olivia was waiting at the arrivals gate, holding a hand-painted sign that read, "Welcome home, Marley." The sight brought happy tears to Marley's eyes. Home wasn't a place, she realized as she fell into Olivia's embrace. Home was the freedom to be herself, wherever that might take her. Olivia's apartment, now their apartment, was cozy and bright, despite Seattle's notorious gray skies. Large windows overlooked a slice of Puget Sound, providing a constant connection to the water that had become so significant in Marley's life. "I cleared out half the closet for you," Olivia said, showing Marley around. "And this drawer is yours, and this shelf in the bathroom." Marley listened, touched by the care Olivia had taken to make space for her, both literally and figuratively. That night, unpacking the first of her boxes, Marley came across the tissue-wrapped navy blue skirt. She held it up, memories flooding back. "Is that new?" Olivia asked, entering the bedroom with 2 mugs of tea. Marley shook her head, smiling. "Actually, it's very old. The oldest piece of Marley's wardrobe, you could say?" Olivia sat on the edge of the bed, sensing the significance. "It's beautiful. It's more than that," Marley said softly. She took a deep breath, decided that complete honesty was the foundation she wanted for this new chapter. "It's the beginning of my story." And so, as rain tapped gently against the windows, and the sound of distant ferry horns floated in from the sound, Marley told Olivia everything, about Thaddeus, about that first walk on the beach, about finding freedom in being seen as her true self. Olivia listened without interruption, her eyes never leaving Marley's face. When the story was complete, she took Marley's hands in hers. "Thank you for trusting me with your journey," she said, her voice full of emotion. "It makes me understand even better why the beach means so much to you." Relief washed over Marley, not because she had feared rejection, but because sharing her complete truth felt like releasing the last tether to a past that no longer served her. "I think I'll frame it," she decided, smoothing her hand over the navy blue fabric. "A reminder of courage." Settling into life in Seattle was both challenging and exhilarating. Marley found work at a local art gallery, her eye for aesthetics and warm personality making her a natural fit. She made new friends, joined a book club, explored her new city with the same openness that had served her so well before. On weekends, regardless of weather, she and Olivia would visit different beaches around the Sound. Sometimes they would collect interesting stones or pieces of sea glass, adding to a growing collection displayed in a glass bowl in their living room. "Each one represents a memory," Marley explained when visitors commented on the unusual centerpiece. "A moment when we were exactly where we needed to be." 6 months into her Seattle life, on a rare sunny October day, Olivia suggested they return to Alki Beach. The sight of Marley's declaration that she could get used to this. The beach was relatively quiet for such a beautiful day, just a few dog walkers and joggers taking advantage of the unexpected sunshine. Marley wore a comfortable knit dress in a rusty orange that echoed the autumn leaves, her auburn hair loose around her shoulders. They walked hand in hand along the shoreline, occasionally stopping to examine an interesting shell or watch a seabird dive for fish. The conversation flowed easily, punctuated by comfortable silences. This had become their rhythm, a dance of words and quiet understanding.
Do you miss your old beach?
Olivia asked, as they paused to watch a ferry cross the Sound. Marley considered the question, looking out at the water that seemed to stretch endlessly. I miss what it represented. A beginning, a discovery. But I've brought the important parts with me. She squeezed Olivia's hand. And I've found new beginnings here. Olivia smiled, her eyes reflecting the rare Seattle sun. Speaking of new beginnings, she reached into her pocket and pulled out a small box. Marley's breath caught as Olivia knelt on the sand, waves lapping just inches from her knees. Marley, you walked onto a beach one day and found yourself. I walked onto a beach months later and found you, the most authentic, brave, beautiful person I've ever known. Olivia's voice wavered slightly with emotion. Would you consider another new beginning as my wife? Tears blurred Marley's vision as she looked down at the simple, elegant ring nestled in velvet. The moment felt surreal, yet perfectly right. Another milestone in a journey that had begun with a navy blue skirt and a leap of faith. Yes, she whispered, then louder. Yes! Olivia slipped the ring onto her finger, then stood to embrace her. Behind them, a few distant onlookers applauded the romantic scene, an ordinary moment of human connection and love, the kind that happened on beaches every day. As they walked back along the shore, making excited plans and pausing for celebratory selfies with the engagement ring, Marley reflected on how far she had come. From those first tentative steps on a different beach, uncertain and afraid, to this moment of pure joy and certainty. The wedding planning was a whirlwind of decisions, compromises, and moments of surprising clarity about what really mattered to both of them. They settled on a small ceremony the following June to be held at, where else, a secluded cove on one of the San Juan Islands. The beach has been our constant, Marley explained to friends who questioned the potentially unpredictable outdoor venue. It feels right to make our promises there. In the months leading up to the wedding, Marley occasionally thought about her former self, not with regret or nostalgia, but with compassion for the person who had been too afraid to live authentically. She wondered what Thaddeus would think of Marley now, engaged, thriving, planning a beach wedding in a custom-made dress that would showcase her auburn hair and complement the natural setting. The answer always came back the same. He would be proud, perhaps a little amazed, and definitely at peace. The wedding day dawned with the kind of perfect weather that Seattle residents considered almost mythical. Clear blue skies, gentle sunshine, and just enough breeze to rustle the leaves without disrupting hairstyles or decorations. Marley's wedding dress was an ethereal creation in pale blue silk that mimicked the colors of sea and sky. Her auburn hair was styled in loose waves, adorned with tiny white flowers. As she prepared in a small rental cottage overlooking the cove, surrounded by her closest friends, she felt a profound sense of rightness. Claire, who had flown in from the East Coast for the wedding, adjusted Marley's necklace, a delicate silver pendant containing a tiny piece of sea glass from their first beach. "You look absolutely radiant," she said, stepping back to admire her friend. "Completely yourself." Marley smiled, touching the pendant. "That's the greatest compliment you could give me." The ceremony was everything they had hoped for. intimate, meaningful, set against the backdrop of lapping waves and distant islands. Marley walked down a path strewn with flower petals, her eyes fixed on Olivia, waiting at a driftwood arch decorated with local wildflowers. Their vows, written separately but resonating with similar themes, spoke of journeys, of shores reached and yet to be discovered, of being each other's safe harbor. As they exchanged rings, a pair of eagles soared overhead, an unexpected but perfect blessing.
I now pronounce you wife and wife,
the officiant declared, her voice carrying across the small gathering.
You may seal your vows with a kiss.
The celebration continued into the evening, with string lights illuminating the beach and a bonfire providing warmth as the temperature dropped. Marley and Olivia danced barefoot on the sand, their joy infectious. As midnight approached and guests began to depart for their accommodations, the newlyweds found themselves alone on the beach, watching moonlight create a silver path across the water. "Happy?" Olivia asked, her arm around Marley's waist. "More than I ever imagined possible," Marley replied, leaning her head on her wife's shoulder. "When I wore that navy blue skirt to the beach for the first time, I was just hoping for a moment of being myself without judgment. I never dreamed it would lead to all of this, to you." "The beach gives what you need," Olivia said softly. "For some, it's just a day of sun and swimming. For others, it's a place to find themselves. For us, it was the beginning of something extraordinary." Marley nodded, watching the gentle waves recede and return, a constant rhythm, like breathing, like life itself. "And the beginning of our next chapter." They stayed until the fire burned down to embers, talking about their future, the home they would build together, the possibilities for family, the adventures they would share. The beach had witnessed Marley's transformation, and now her marriage. It would always be sacred ground. In the years that followed, Marley and Olivia created traditions around visiting beaches, their anniversary always spent by the water, no matter where life took them. They collected sand from significant shores in tiny bottles labeled with dates and locations, building a physical timeline of their journey together. On their 5th anniversary, they returned to the very first beach where Marley had walked in that navy blue skirt. The area had changed. New buildings dotted the shoreline. The boardwalk had been expanded, but the fundamental elements remained the same. Sand, water, endless sky. Marley wore a navy blue dress for the occasion, her auburn hair now styled in a sophisticated bob. As they walked hand in hand along the familiar shore, memories surfaced with each step. "I was so scared that day," Marley admitted, watching a group of children building an elaborate sandcastle nearby. "Terrified that everyone would stare, would somehow know I was trying on a new self." "And instead," Olivia prompted, though she knew the story well. "Instead, I discovered that most people are too absorbed in their own lives to judge others. That freedom was possible, that I could be Marley, not just in private moments, but in the full light of day." She smiled, squeezing Olivia's hand. "I had no idea where that realization would lead." "To me," Olivia said, with a playful nudge. "To us." "To us," Marley agreed. "The best destination I could have hoped for." They found a quiet spot to watch the sunset, the same sun that had witnessed Marley's first tentative steps toward authenticity years before. As golden light painted the water and clouds in dramatic hues, Marley reflected on the complete circle her life had taken. from fear to freedom, from isolation to connection, from hiding to celebration. The navy blue skirt, now framed in a shadow box in their home office, had been just the beginning. Marley had built a life as rich and varied and authentic as the beaches she loved, ever-changing yet fundamentally constant, beautiful in all its iterations, a place where people could come as they were and find acceptance. As darkness fell and stars appeared one by one above the ocean, Marley and Olivia rose to continue their anniversary tradition, writing messages in the sand for the tide to carry out to sea, wishes, gratitudes, dreams for the future. Marley's message was simple. Thank you for the courage to begin. She watched as gentle waves approached, gradually erasing the words but carrying their essence outward, perhaps to reach some other person standing at the edge of transformation, needing just a nudge to take that first step toward authenticity. The water receded, leaving smooth sand behind, a blank canvas for tomorrow's footprints, tomorrow's journeys, tomorrow's discoveries, just as it had always been, just as it would always be.
Thanks for watching, my girlies! Be sure to check out Patreon for more!